All right, welcome everyone. We hope you're getting in and that you can see the screen. We are so happy that you are here with us today. My name is Melissa Roswell, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Women's Council of Entrepreneurs, or WC as short, because that's a mouthful. I also have Allie Everhard online, and she'll be managing the chat and letting you in and all of those things. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself in the Q&A section or the chat section, we would love to see who's here with us today. You can put your name and your business, even put, what city and state you're from, because I know we have people from all over with us today. So go ahead and do that so we can see who all's here. So today we are going to be talking about what to do, 5 tips that every business owner should know as you're getting ready to sell your business or thinking about or seeing what your options are. I know that's always a big thing as a business owner is like, maybe what am I going to do to get out of this? Or, how am I going to continue to serve my customers when I'm ready to retire or, move on to the next project. So this will be a great call for all of those people who are kind of wondering that. But as we start and wait for a lot of people to get in, let me tell you a little bit about WCE. We are a support and networking group for women entrepreneurs. So anyone who has a business, we are here to support you. We do that through a lot of different things. We have a Facebook group. So if you're not a part of that, join that because you can promote your business on Fridays. You can ask questions, you can share wins. A lot of people just will say, hey, I got a big customer today. And, we all need to hear that, like cheers from the support of everybody else. So it's a good place to join and ask questions and get support. We also have a weekly newsletter where you can get resources. We'll curate articles that go with our topic of the month, and just like different ways for you to learn in bite-sized pieces about different topics. So we'd love to have you subscribe to one of those things. And really, that's our whole goal at WCE, is to help women be successful as entrepreneurs. So we do things like this each month. We have the newsletter and the Facebook group. We also have something called, it's the next slide, I'll tell you about it right now, is called Shop a Small Business, and it's a place for you to find business owners. So if you're looking for someone to help you with your website or a cute boutique to shop, this is a great place to find and support women business owners. It's called shopasmallbusiness.com, and you can be listed in there. All of our WCE members have a chance to be listed in there, but you can also get added to that. So that's kind of all about WCE. I'm going to give a big thank you as well to our sponsors, Deborah King Consulting, Moody Bank, White Oak Music Hall, Meghana Patel, and Mosquito Authority. So definitely big shout out to all of those people who support us throughout the year and help us put on workshops like this so that we can help you. As we move on, I want to tell you really quick about our workshop that we'll be doing next month, and it's actually going to be on demand. So if you can't make this time or your calendar gets busy, don't worry. We're just going to email it out, the recording, to you, and it will be on networking tips. So if you're getting started networking, or you're networking and maybe you want to amp it up, we're going to give you some tips on how to build strong connections when you're at the events and what to do after the events. So that's kind of all the housekeeping activities. I'm going to be turning this over to our ladies at Moody Bank. We have Joette Martin and Mary Beth Driskell, who are amazing resources for WCE and really our go-to on financial things. The best thing about them is they don't believe in dumb questions, which I love, especially when you're talking to a banker. There's always things that you're like, I don't want to sound stupid, and they've been doing this a long time, and they believe that there aren't dumb questions, and I love that. And so thank you, ladies, for being here, for sharing, for kind of helping us in this topic. This is probably one of the topics that Allie and I hear the most that people don't know where to go, what to do. And so thank you, ladies, for being here today and for being a resource for WCE just in general.
Well, thank you. We do. We love WCE, and with our combined over 55 years in banking, we do like to have people ask those questions. So I'm going to echo that. And as bankers, we even ask each other, we say, all right, I've got a stupid question. And then so same thing. We do it to each other. Guys, please feel free as we get going to whether you raise your hand or Allie kind of tell us if someone has a question. We're happy to, to stop, because these tips can be tailored to y'all, and we want to do that. First of all, when we talk about, have you thought about retiring? Is it retiring, or is it just, I'm going to sell this current business because I've, now come to a place where I've met my goals. This is a great time to sell it. You could be retiring or moving on. It doesn't matter. What does that look like? Have you thought about it? Really thought about it? And if so, what's best for you? Are you going to sell your business? Are you going to shutter your doors? Are you going to transfer it to a family member who's going to continue on your legacy? That's really your first question, right? And kind of show his hands. Has anybody really asked themselves any of these questions in the past year? Okay, great. So with that, the tip there is, and it's very basic. It's the first thing is that, have you reviewed your financial position? Have you reviewed your savings? Are you at a place where you can shutter your business? Are you at a place where you can sell your business? And here's pro tip for getting your pens, right? I always tell my story in that I come from a long line of entrepreneurs. Not me. I love the security of working for a big company, but everyone around me, mother, father, husband, brother, entrepreneurs. You typically will run your business one of two ways, and both are fantastic. But number one, you are taking all of the tax deductions that are available to you, which I completely get, and you are driving down your taxable income. So kind of nod of heads if you're like, I get that, I do that. I depreciate my vehicles, I turn things over, right? Because at the end of the day, we're not spending that money paying Uncle Sam. Absolutely fine. The backside of that is those tax returns, should you come to the point that you want to sell your business, is truly a big part of the value of your business. So if you have driven that down, which I will tell you, all the people that I've mentioned, family members, it's exactly what they did. Your value of your business now is reflected in those numbers. Again, nothing wrong with that, but please keep that in mind, right? With that, kind of looking forward is, have you looked? Most places, a company that will evaluate your business will look at your past 3 to 5 years of tax returns. Okay. So if you have your business and you are running it as a sole prop or a disregarded entity, and feel free to email me on side notes and I can cover any of this if I'm using things that you're like, what is that? Right. That's something else you want to look at, which is, how can I separate myself, and whether it's you, if you're married, state of Texas, that's still one, from my business, right? So that's another thing that you're going to want to think about, because all this will have impact. When we go into the next piece is that, have you thought about selling your business, shuttering it, passing it on to a family member to create a legacy? What is your goal, right? Is your goal, because many, you've heard the term serial entrepreneur, right? It's there for a reason, because people have a great idea and they get it going and it's successful, and now they have another one and they want to keep it going. So what do you do with that first business? And I don't know if that's anyone in the group has asked themselves, hey, am I going to completely remove myself from this first business? Is my goal retirement? Or is my goal to start my next business? So kind of show of hands, are those questions that anyone has asked themselves? Yeah, right. And so that's where I would encourage folks in that is to definitely, in this tip, is now start looping in your banker, start looping in your financial consultant, because they can also start telling you, hey, these are great ways. And they're going to start building that path with you, not for you, but with you, what works for you. If you wanted to comment on some of the things that we've just quickly looked at.
Yes. So just making sure that you, when you're looking at what your next step is how, if it is creating a legacy, if it is, you want more free time, are you setting yourself up and whoever it's going to go to, as, are they being successful? Is it, because this is your legacy? How, and Joette has mentioned that several times, is what does this mean for you? I'll give an example. I have a customer that bought some quick cars and he built one himself. The other ones he used, and that was the hardest thing for him. Was the first one he shut down was the one that was all about him and what he built. And he just had to say, I have to cut my losses, location, where it is, it's not making any money. And it was very hard for him. It was super hard. So, just know that there are tons of people out there that can help you with all of these things. It's just making sure that your heart and your pocketbook, if you will, are all on the same page. And I'm going to tell you, your heart and your pocketbook are never going to be on the same page ever. But you have to make sure that you can survive when you're not doing what you're doing right now.
And that's an excellent point. That's one of the things that we had as a tip, which is please make sure that you can have an honest conversation with yourself about, is it emotional? And if it is, can you find a way to take that emotion and set it to the side to make a good business decision? And that's one of the hardest things, because you are entrepreneurs, because that's where your passion is. But how do you separate yourself when that time comes? And that rolls into the previous tip, which is definitely find a banker or a financial consultant. So this is not necessarily your investments broker, right? This is more to that banker side where someone can give you advice, because all they're doing, guys, is, and I'm looking at your tax returns. I'm looking at your PFS, your personal financial statement. And I'm just giving you advice based on the numbers. It's not emotional. And that's very, very, very important to receive. You may love it, you may not, but please receive it, right? Additionally, if you have not completed a PFS, a personal financial statement recently, let us know. We can send you a blank copy. And that's always a really great thing to do. And I would add that into, a tip, on your to-do list as part of your action plan. We also want to make sure, kind of circling back, that all of your legal documents are in place. If you have partners, do you have a buy-sell agreement? That's very important. So what if something happens to one of you? We don't want that to happen. And we very frequently find in banking that no one wants to think about that. But I can also tell you that I have sat with partners, wives, that everything was not in place and they did not receive the financial windfall, if you will. Windfall is a horrible thing to say, but what they thought they would be receiving, because those documents were not in place. So please review those as well.
And I'll piggyback on that. Your legal documents being in place could be, are you currently a DBA and you want to move to an LLC? You're selling your business. Those are things that you need to put in your financial bucket, because an LLC is a more cost, you have to pay more to make your business an LLC versus a DBA. The other thing is that if you have to go to a bank and the docs aren't in place, then you're just having to go backwards, trying to get, if you will, your ducks in a row. And Joette and I say this to each other all the time. We tell our staff, we tell our customers, in this stage of our lives, we need to be proactive instead of reactive. We do not, Joette and I are not, we do not like surprises.
No.
So we want to try to set our customers up for success when we get started. And so that when you get time and ready to sell your business, it's a lot easier for the factual stuff to go forward than the emotional stuff, because you've already done those steps that are in place to move you forward versus I got to do this, I can't let go. I got to do this, I can't let go. And then you're never letting go, and you're not being able to sell your business or however you're ready to close the doors or whatever.
In alignment, with your legal documents, have you individually, has anyone gone onto the Social Security website and looked to see what you qualify for? That's also important in planning on selling your business, because typically you're looking at, future funds. We realize that absolutely no one is really planning on living on their Social Security. But with that being said, another component of that is that if you are an entrepreneur and you have used all of your tax benefits, and guys, that is typically how folks do it, just so you know, that is the most common path. But that also means it is your taxable income that then sets forth the dollar amount you would receive, right? So once again, we encourage everyone, as part of your, these are tips into your action plan, right? Is sign on to the Social Security website and take a look and see what that dollar amount is. It's just very important. And thank you. Someone just commented, and they're like, yes, it is, y'all. And it doesn't matter your age. If you're in your 20s or if you're in your 60s, it doesn't matter. Look at these numbers, all of these numbers. Look at your tax returns, because guys, these are these documents that tell the story, believe it or not. That's, everything else, when I say everything else is great, but when we have to drill it down to real hard numbers, these are those things that tell those real hard numbers. I do want to ask, because we can delve one way or another at this point, is there anybody that feels like there's a topic that we haven't hit for you? No, we're good. Okay. Has anybody thought, I want to make sure we've touched on this enough, about passing on their business to a family member? I don't know, Allie, if you can let us know if anyone put something in the chat.
Yeah, there is a question in the chat, and they're just kind of wondering, like, how do you let go, and like let go of that idea of, well, I can just read it straight up. So I think there's an important question about, how do you let go? How do we deal with the conscious about future financial performance if the business is handed down? Should I thrive to still be involved? So it's just like this question of like, how, especially if it's like a family member, I'm assuming, like, how do you not like, oh, don't,
No, that's a
I know from personal experience, my grandfather passed his business down, but he definitely did not get uninvolved. There was lots of opinion, so is that healthy for a business?
Do you know what? And these are great questions. And I can tell you that setting it up as a business, you're right. It is a business. This is not personal. This is a business, right? And what 99% of people do is everything is contractual. The sale is contractual. Typically, the seller, the owner, the founder will stay on for 1 to 3 years as a consultant. They will receive a negotiated salary. And quite frankly, based on the value of the business, it can be a very, very healthy. I will tell you, my father passed his business on. It was offered to me, but at this point, 30 years in banking, I am where I am. So it went to another family member, and he did stay on for 3 years at a consultant rate of $250,000 a year. And there were stipulations of what does that look like. And typically, guys, this is done because as the owner, as the founder, as the heart of your business, you typically have the contacts, right? And when you talk about, Allie, I hope this helps segueing into, is it healthy for the business? Staying on as a consultant is very healthy as a business, because you are now helping that family member transition those clients from your leadership to the new leadership. To the question of how do you stay involved or not, you do have to remember, and this is more mental than business, you have to remember you've made the decision to sell your business to this family member. You have to trust them. You have to let them take the reins. And that's only something that we can work on internally. But from an actual contractual point, your involvement for a certain period of time is of the utmost importance for the success and ongoing legacy that you built of this business. And I can also say that if you do sell to a non-family member, it is also typical for the owner to offer consultative services for a period of time. And as you mentioned in our website, Allie, or excuse me, Melissa, I'm so sorry, where you can look for businesses. I feel like I've met attorneys in our group that could help with this. So that's a great place to, look for assistance. Okay, and I do see, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So, what's the best way to make sure that your LLC or a trust passes to a child, or we're just gonna say someone specific, right? That is definitely done through an attorney, through your will. That is where that is addressed, okay? And everything can be directed. Now, with the LLC, we're going to assume now that that LLC is a sole prop. So an LLC can operate as a sole prop. It can be incorporated, or you can have a partner, a member with multiple members of the LLC. So the only time that would work, if it's an LLC, is if you are a sole member. Then you can pass it on because you are the business. Does that help with that? Yep. Okay. I think, guys, there are many, many successful ways to retire, sell, or shutter, right? There's nothing, there's nothing wrong with that. I think you want to make sure that you have reviewed your finances. Are you there? Do you understand how you got there? In that, did you make your decision as a business owner to take all of your deductions, drive down your annual income, which is fantastic, but that will affect your ability to sell? Or, did you do it a little bit differently so that you had everything on there and that you can, in fact, have a business evaluation? It can be quite costly, but to have a professional evaluation, it's no different than when you go to sell your home, right? Same thing. It's going to get assessed. You're going to have that appraisal, and a value is going to be assessed. That is something, again, that I feel like through WCE, we probably have some connections to help our team, our group with that as well. Beth, what do you
I just want to add.
We want to be conscious of
yes,
time.
we have a few more minutes. I just want to add, we did talk about an attorney, but in the same sense, find a great CPA that can help you with these things as well. And I, always say, once you figure out what you're going to do, then give yourself a timeline. Don't make a abrupt, quick decision unless you need to.
Yes.
And when you get to that timeline, reevaluate, reassess, but stick to those things. And I mean, you're gonna get what you put in. So when you say, what have I done? Have I done this to the fullest? Have I done the advertising? Have I taken the tips? Have I done what my CPA said? That I listened to what Joette and Mary Beth said? But as you've made these lists, make a timeline and say it's time, or whatever your next step is.
And I'm sorry this wasn't as streamlined as I had hoped, but I feel like there's so many options and so many different ways that this could go. Lastly, your action plan is to look at, are you ready? Look at your finances, the finances of the business. Check Social Security. Check to make sure that your legal documents, how your business is put together, is in order. And consult any partners that you may or may not have currently, right? Because that allows you to put your specific action plan into place, because everyone on this call will be different. We would like to offer our assistance. Again, we're both almost 30 years in the business. We are here for you. We are here to schedule time. Of course, these are free of charge, conversations, and we're happy to help WCE.
Does anybody have any other questions? Joette, Mary Beth, do you want to put your information in the chat just so they can grab it from there?
Yes.
And then we'll also email it out so that you guys can click right on it and set up appointments with Joette and Mary Beth. So, because you're right, this topic is very individualized. Like you need to speak to somebody one-on-one that will really get, but I think that these tips are great. Just kind of start digging into your finances. Like, is this the route I need to be going if I want to, retire or do this in like 5 years, 10 years, and just getting yourself on that timeline, like Mary Beth said. So, thank you so much for sharing all this information and getting our brains working on what the next step would be for our businesses, because even though we don't like to think about it, it's right around the corner, really. So, we hope to see everybody again. Well, I guess we won't see you next month because we're going to do a pre-recorded one, but in October, we hope to see you, and make sure to catch Joette and Mary Beth at the WCE meetings. They're out and about in the Houston area. So, thanks again for everybody coming, and thanks again, Joette and Mary Beth, for sharing everything.
Thank you for having us.
Bye. Thank you, guys.
Bye.